Hello, and welcome again to the Bench Report, where we discuss recent debates and briefings from the benches of the UK Parliament. A new topic every episode. You're listening to Amy and Ivan.
So today we're looking at the recent parliamentary consideration of Remembrance, but it went quite a bit deeper than just commemoration.
It really did. It was about the national commitment required right now for our armed forces.
Exactly. The discussion was framed around Remembrance Day 2025. His Majesty the King led the service, with about 10,000 veterans there at the cenotaph.
And the Minister for the Armed Forces, who was a veteran, made a really powerful point about the personal cost.
A very powerful point. He described how, traumatic memories, the gunfire, the screaming, the sheer chaos, are imprinted just as vividly as the birth of a first child.
But with a devastatingly different meaning. That really frames the whole conversation, doesn't it?
It does. It underscores this dual focus. On one hand, you're honoring the fallen. On the other, you have to support the living.
And this year was significant for anniversaries. 80 years since the liberation of Bergen-Belsen, VE Day, VJ Day.
And 85 years since the Battle of Britain. It's that sense of history captured in the Kohima epitaph. For your tomorrow, we gave our today.
So how does that gratitude for the past connect to the strategic threats of today? Because that's where the debate really pivoted.
It pivoted hard into a warning against complacency. The shadow minister raised this historical caution, specifically pointing to the pre-WWII 10-year rule.
For anyone who doesn't know, what was that exactly?
It was a rolling government policy that assumed Britain wouldn't face a major war for at least a decade. It kept getting reset, and the result was that the forces were constantly being run down.
A pretty chilling parallel to draw, and they're applying that caution to the current Strategic Defense Review.
Directly. That review aims for the UK to be able to fight and win. But by 2035, the question hanging in the air is that soon enough.
Especially given the scale of modern conflict.
Well, yes. The minister drew a parallel to Ukraine, pointing out that Russian casualties there are already higher than all American losses in the Second World War.
That's an astonishing statistic. It just hammers home the severity of what we need to be ready for.
It does. But amidst all this, there were some positive steps discussed for veterans here and now.
The veteran strategy, for instance. There was a mention of £13.8 million being allocated to tackle veterans' homelessness. A concrete measure.
A very necessary and concrete measure. But that was somewhat overshadowed by a pretty high-stakes political debate.
You're talking about that letter to the Times.
I am. A public warning signed by 9 retired 4-star generals and an Air Chief Marshal, a very senior group.
And their argument was focused on something they called lawfare. Now, just to be clear for everyone listening, we're impartially reporting on their viewpoint here.
Of course. They argued that what they call legal activism, especially around the proposed Northern Ireland Troubles Bill, risks, and I'm quoting, weakening the moral foundations and operational effectiveness of the forces.
So what's the core of that claim?
Their point is that highly trained Special Forces personnel are choosing to leave because they fear being pursued by legal claims, years, even decades, after an operation. This, they argue, is lawfare.
Using the law as a weapon against your own military, essentially.
That's their argument. And the debate also made sure to remember the families, the mothers, fathers, partners, who, as it was put, suffer in silence long after a conflict is over.
So, considering the historical warnings about strategic complacency, what specific, measurable steps should the government prioritize now to ensure the UK military is ready for the threats forecasted in 2035? That's something to think about.
A critical question.
As always, find us on social media at Bench Report UK. Get in touch with any topic important to you.
Remember, politics is everyone's business.
Hello there, this is Tom, the producer of The Bench Report. Listener suggestions are vital to my mission of making politics more accessible and accountable. So, if you have an issue that's really important to you, personally or professionally, and want to know what those in power are doing about it, please get in touch via email or via our socials at Bench Report UK. I'll grab another coffee and start scanning those parliamentary archives.